Happy New Year, guys. I cannot believe that it is already 2020. Has anybody else just feel like had their mind blown by the fact that it is 2020? I mean, I still feel like a teenager some days, but like I graduated high school in '04. So I'm long since being a teenager. And that just totally made me feel really old. But what we're going to be talking about today are some simple tasks that you can do to get yourself organized for the brand new year when it comes to your finances. And so the first thing that I like to do is pretty simple and kind of easy to do. And that's just cleaning out the junk we don't need anymore. So whether or not you keep this stuff digitally or, if you keep them in paper format, I recommend going through all of your financial documents and shredding and getting rid of the stuff that you no longer need. For example, if you're in the US, you only need to keep your tax returns for 7 years. So after 7 years, you can properly shred and destroy your tax returns. You no longer need those. So go through your tax returns, take any that are older than 7 years, shred them, burn them, properly dispose of them. And the same goes with receipts. I only keep receipts longer than the return policy on the receipts for items that have a warranty with them. So our TV or our vacuum cleaner, any of the big name items that we have that have a warranty that came with them, I will keep the receipt along with the warranty information, just so then that way I have the proof of purchase and all of that jazz in case we ever were to actually need to use the manufacturer's warranty. But other than that, any receipts that are past their return policy date, go ahead and destroy. The other thing I do is that because I keep my budget in an actual budget binder, and in that budget binder, I have tabs that are listed out by the month. And so what I do for my own sanity, we still receive paper bill statements in the mail, because if your inbox is anything like mine, my inbox is totally crazy all the time. And I know that if I was to be emailed my bills, I would forget to pay them. True story. I would, because they would just get lost in just the craziness that is my inbox. And so we still receive the paper bill statements, but we pay them online. And then what I do is I write down the transaction number on the paper bill statement, the date that it was paid, and the amount that was paid. And then I hole punch it and I put it in the corresponding month in my budget binder. And then that way it's sitting there. So if something weird happens, because it does happen sometimes, if the company sends me a notice saying that I didn't pay my bill, or something else happens, whatever, I can go back and look and see, okay, well, I paid this bill on XYZ date. This is the transaction, this is the confirmation number saying that I paid it, the amount left my checking account, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's totally saved my butt more times than once. But at the beginning of the year, I go through and I take out everything from June or from January to June. So I go through and I destroy the pages that I made our budget on, the bill statements, all that stuff. I just go ahead and destroy that stuff. And then I put in new budget sheets and kind of get prepared. I do keep from July until December's in the budget binder from the previous year, just in case if something does happen, I can go back and look through to make sure that, things were properly paid, things were properly handled. The next thing that you're going to want to do is make a list of all of the things that you need to accomplish financially in 2020. So kind of sit down and really think about what your big goals are for this year. Is your big goal to pay off debt? Is it to save money, to save for retirement? What are your big financial goals for this year? If your big financial goal is to pay off debt, then I encourage you to right now, make that plan. Put that plan to paper and write it out. So then that way it can help motivate you and propel you to actually achieving that goal, and put a deadline on that goal as well. So say you have $55,000 of consumer debt, like we did, and you want to get, say $10,000 of that debt paid off by December of 2020. And so you're going to write that down. Say, I want to pay off $10,000 of my debt by December 31st of 2020. And then from there, make your battle plan. Make your battle plan of how much money you need to put towards the debt every single month from now until December 31st in order to achieve that goal of paying off at least $10,000 of debt. If your big goal is to save up an emergency fund of 6 months of living expenses, then write that down. Write down what your actual number is that you need in that emergency fund. Don't just pull a number out of the sky. Don't be like, oh, I need $50,000. Actually sit down and calculate out this number. So what you need to do is you need to look over your budget. And if you don't know how to make a budget, I'll include a link in the description of this video to another video I did where I kind of break out the quick start budget and how to get started with budgeting. But look over your budget and look at your bare bones expenses. So none of the fun stuff, none of the frill stuff, the things that it costs for you to actually live. So, your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, insurances and groceries, not eating out, but groceries. And then of course, fuel or other transportation costs that you have. Those are your bare bones expenses. And those are the expenses that, say, if you lost your job or the breadwinner in your family lost their job, like those are the expenses that would still need and have to be paid, even with a job loss. And so that's when your emergency fund would kick in, is that you would use that money to be able to pay those expenses, which is why when someone says to have 6 months of living expenses, they're not talking about like go out and have fun money. They're talking about the money it actually takes to keep the roof over your head, to keep your family warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and food on the table. Like that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about being able to go out and do all these fun things. They're simply talking about being able to keep the roof over your head. So add up what your actual living expenses are for the month and then multiply that number by 6. And then that will be your 6-month emergency fund goal number. And so the same thing, set your deadline whenever you want to have that money saved by, whatever time it is, and then work backwards from there on this amount of money that you need to start setting aside every single month towards meeting that goal. And I highly recommend tracking this goal. So whether you're a spreadsheet person, you're, a pen to paper person, whatever you need to do, put it front and center. Like make it something that you see every single day, that your family sees every single day, something that, you can highlight, you can color, you can circle, you can do whatever, like something that kind of makes this goal tangible to you, something that kind of puts action, like physical action with it. That will help keep you motivated during the year while you're trying to achieve that goal. The other things that you need to kind of think about when it comes to what you want to achieve financially for the year are the things that maybe you haven't done yet, but you need to do. So like if you don't have life insurance and you're married or you have children, you have people that depend upon you, that's something that you want to add to your list of things to accomplish for 2020 is getting a life insurance policy. The other thing might be getting a will, especially if you have children that you still care for. Getting a will put in place, those types of things. Or maybe your big thing is that you don't yet have a retirement savings plan in place. Like maybe you haven't set up a 401k at work or you haven't set up a Roth IRA. Make that your big goal for the year, where you set up the 401k, you call your HR department at work and you set it up and you start contributing to it. Or make it your goal to educate yourself as much as possible on saving and investing for your future. The goals are really up to you and what you want to do. I'm just encouraging you to list out those things so then that way you can actually make these goals tangible and you're more likely to achieve them or come very close to achieving them come December of 2020. The other thing I encourage you to do is take some time to review your insurance policies if you have not already done so. Basically, with these insurance policies is you just want to make sure that one, you have enough insurance. So again, back to like life insurance. If you don't already have life insurance, you want to make sure you get that put in place. But like make sure that your car insurance covers everything. Make sure your home insurance covers everything. When we first bought our house, we did not realize that we did not have enough coverage to cover if, say, we literally live in Tornado Alley, and our house actually was hit by a tornado before we ever purchased our home. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that a tornado could possibly level my house to the ground. But we originally did not have enough money in our insurance policy to cover rebuilding our house from the ground if something did happen to it. And so I encourage you to review your insurance policies, call your insurance agent. If you don't know, if you're like me and you are like completely lost with the whole, insurance mumbo jumbo, call your insurance agent and have them walk you through everything. Ask detailed questions about these policies to find out if you have enough coverage, or if you have too much coverage. Maybe you finally have just like too much coverage. Like maybe you need to take your car down from full coverage to liability, especially if it's paid off, whatever. The only way you're going to know these things is to review your policies and to ask the questions and determine for yourself if it's time to downgrade or upgrade your insurance policy. And the next thing you're going to do, if you have not already done so, is set up a budgeting system that works for your family. I mentioned before about my budget binder. That system works perfect for my family because everything is literally in one binder. Everything that my husband would need if something happened to me is in the binder. So he would know what bills are to be paid. He would know what the budget is. Like he would know all of that stuff because it's all there. He wouldn't have to go hunt and find for it. He would just know, go get the big pink binder off Jesse's desk. That's what he would know. And so for you and for your family, come up with sort of a central command system for all things financial in your household. So from the budget to the bills that are paid, need to be paid, the savings trackers, the debt payoff trackers, all of those things, that make sure all those things are in one place. And so set up central command system for your family's finances, whatever works best for you guys. Just have it to be like, have it be central, and make sure that you and your spouse know how to access it, where the information is, and how to use the information. Like whether or not you are of, the one bed, one bank belief, or your keep everything separate belief, whatever your belief system is about when it comes to sharing money with your spouse, you still need to be on the same page. Because if something were to happen to your spouse, like that money has to go somewhere. You want to be on the same page with your spouse, like, because your spouse still needs to be able to access that money to pay off any debts that you have. So make sure that you are sitting down with your spouse and having these conversations so everyone in your household is on the same page and knows where to find this information and to how to access it in the event of something happening to you or something happening to them. And if you want more information on my budget binder or the budget binder printables that I use within our budget binder in our household, I have linked in the description of this video my budget binder tutorial from a few years ago, along with a link to the budget binder printables for you to go and check out. And I hope you guys are having an amazing start to your brand new year. And yes, my Christmas tree is still up.